Welcome to the second episode of Never Die Easy. Tonight's subject has to deal with having an attitude of gratitude. And when I started in business at age 19 while I was still at university, fortunately my businesses were all sales related, and so I was learning from managers how to go through the certain steps of making a sale. With the types of businesses I worked in also, we had to do a lot of our own marketing. Now, small business owners are being hardest hit by the closures that have happened with businesses during the last few months due to the COVID-19. And in the past, they probably started their businesses based on some technical knowledge that they had on a certain product or service, and never really gave much thought to how important sales and marketing are. But as a small business owner or operator, you are the one that's responsible for marketing your business. You're the one that's responsible ultimately for sales. You can hire people in these areas, but they're not going to have the same passion for it that you do. So I think that it's time for some of you to go back to school, and by school I mean studying on your own and searching through videos, through books, other things that you can do to start to master some skills that are going to be beneficial to your business. Now, in the last 2 decades, there's been a strong move from the original techniques that were used for hundreds of years in business to try to make it easier for small business owners to do things online. And what I think that's done is it's generated some quick business at times, but probably not steady business, because platforms are constantly changing. The ideas behind using these platforms change frequently, and they're also not based on customer retention usually. A lot of times it's all about just trying to push marketing and push as many people through as possible, hoping that they come across you in a Google search or something, and that your price is more attractive than a possible competitor's price. So it's kind of put people in a position where either they simply haven't learned these things, or they've ignored it because it didn't seem like it was something comfortable to them. The main problem with this, as I'm alluding to with the kind of platforms, is that it doesn't develop personal relationships. And in a small business, this is where you're going to really generate stability in your business. Without having stable relationships with your clients, you're going to see constant peaks and valleys in your sales and in your cash flows. And to be able to even things out, you need to be able to have a regular customer base of people that are coming back to your business and buying again and again. Or if it's something that has a longer selling cycle, you want customers that are so happy with the product or service that you're providing that they will introduce other people, friends, family members, or on your social media sites they'll be happy to be evangelist for your site or for your business by posting positive feedback on your post or on your marketing. As I said earlier, I started selling when I was 19 years old and in college, and at first I worked for a small mom and pop shoe store for a year or so, and I had a lot of nerves. I was not a natural salesperson. Luckily, the store owner had been in business for about 30 years, and he just kind of literally gave me a push into the customers, and he would listen, and then after the customers would leave, he'd give me feedback on how to talk properly to the customers. Later, I moved from my home state of Indiana out to Virginia, where I stayed with my father for a while, and he told me that if I sold cars, that the dealership would give me a car to drive, and I thought, this is pretty cool, I like cars. And I didn't believe him, so I went to the interview, passed a series of interviews, and was hired. And after the training started, I was given a demonstrator car to drive, and I was kind of hooked after that. I sold cars for the last 2 years of my college as I was studying to be a teacher. And then when I finished my education, and started looking at what teachers earned, it was about 40% of what I was earning in sales. So I stayed in automotive sales and then moved later into financial services sales. But the thing that was most important about all of these types of sales, especially at this time in the 90s, was that you develop good interpersonal skills. And again, this was not something easy for me because I was a very shy, introverted person, and that probably carries a little bit in the way that I speak here. I have stops and starts when I talk to people, but when you're selling your product or your service, it's more natural. And I would tell you that if you're not a natural extrovert and you're a business owner, you're probably going to be able to pick these skills up easier, because as an introvert, you tend to ask questions and listen. And when I'm talking to my clients, I tend to listen a lot more than I speak. And so this is something that's learned and something that's practiced. I stopped, I continued working in this kind of business and sales until I was about 30 before I actually got some actual training. And the company that I was working for wouldn't pay for training for me to go outside. But I had come across an internationally known sales trainer, Tom Hopkins, and so I paid a few $100s to attend an event that he was doing in Indianapolis. And I was so inspired by that I spent a lot more money buying videotapes, audio tapes, books, so that I could study and try to perfect what I was doing. And the thing that stuck out the most to me in the live conference with Tom, and I talked about with him after the event was over, was this idea of gratitude. And it was the easiest thing for me to incorporate into what I already was doing in sales. And it also made the biggest initial difference, and it marked me as being different from all of my competitors for many years. There was a section in his book that I really paid attention to while we were in the training program, and was about the idea of thank you notes. Now, you might think that in this day and age, you're just fine sending a little quick email or a little message on one of the social media channels that you might be using. And that's something that you should do because it's expected. When you have contact with a customer, respond electronically. But that's not going to really set you apart, because that's what everybody else is doing. In a lot of cases, they're automated. And customers kind of understand that, especially if they're business people. They become accustomed to receiving all of these things by email. Busy people who might probably be your clients are so used to seeing things in their email that they may not even open everything, because they're just so bombarded with email and with spam every day. So I'm going to recommend that you go back and do something rather old-fashioned. And I'm working in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam right now, where it's a little bit more difficult to do this, and that is to send thank you notes or thank you cards. Tom made a point in his training to teach us not just to simply send a thank you card or a thank you note when somebody bought something from us, but to look for reasons to be grateful. Look for reasons to send cards and letters, and make sure that they're handwritten, not just something that's printed out on your computer and that you sign at the bottom, because again, it just looks then like it's a form letter that you send to everybody. And so I started doing this immediately when I got back to the office and went to work. I went through all of my contacts, the people that I had most recently spoken to who hadn't bought from me. I sat down and I wrote a thank you card to each one of them, thanking them for coming in and giving me an opportunity. And it just said something very simple, just a few lines. It said, "Dear Mr. or Mrs. Customer, I wanted to take a moment to thank you for being so generous with your time in coming to talk to me. I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I hope that sometime in the future I'll have a chance to serve you. Thank you again, Ken Smith." And I also would send out to the people that had purchased from me, obviously, kind of a similar card, again, thanking them again for making their purchase with me. and letting them know that if they had any questions or concerns to make sure and call me, and that I would be in touch with them regularly to make sure that they had proper service on the things that they purchased. He also said to send thank you cards when you meet somebody not at the office. If you just happen to be out doing shopping and somehow you meet somebody, you exchange cards or get contact details, or if you're going up the elevator to your office and you strike up a conversation with somebody and you manage to get some details, always look for reasons to send a thank you card. The most interesting one that he talked about, and I kind of was skeptical at first, but then I tried it, and that was to send a thank you card to somebody if you knew that they had shopped your product and ended up purchasing somebody else's product. And I thought, why would I do that? But the thing is that nobody else does that. And it would be a card that would say something like, Dear Mr. or Mrs. Customer, I just wanted to thank you for having given me the opportunity to present my offering. I know that you have made another decision, and I'm sure that that's going to work out well for you in the present time. But in the future, I would imagine that when you purchase something again, I just wanted to have another opportunity. And I'm kind of stumbling around with my words. I'm a little bit more. I'm a little bit better at writing than I am at speaking, so please excuse me for that. But the other thing that I would do with that is I would always follow up these thank you notes with a phone call. And the card kind of forced me to make phone calls because I hate to talk on the phone. I hate to make sales calls. I always have. But if I've sent somebody a card, especially that's handwritten, or a note that's handwritten, it gives me kind of an opening then to follow up and to see if they got the card. And in those cases where somebody had bought from my competitor, when I would call them, I would just say, I was just following up with you to make sure that everything was okay with the product that you purchased from my competitor. Perhaps there may be some things that I might be able to assist you with that possibly they didn't know the answer to. And I just wanted to also check to make sure that I hadn't done anything that had upset you or made you shy to do business with me. And no customer, even if they do have some sort of problem with your personality, is going to tell you on the phone or in person that, oh, I just didn't like you, that's why I didn't buy. And by doing this type of step where you sent a card and then you follow up with a phone call, what you're doing is you're making them feel a little bit guilty because you're probably doing more than the person that actually sold them the product that they have now. And so what I would always ask for from these people was referrals. And I would say, I hope that I at least did enough to justify you recommending me the next time one of your friends or relatives mentions that they might be looking for this kind of a product. And of course they're going to say, yes, of course. And then you ask for the referral. Well, who among the people that you go golfing with might have talked about needing this kind of a product or service? You have to narrow it down. If you don't narrow it down when you're looking for referrals, then the whole galaxy is open to them. There's just too many people, like stars in the sky, for them to think about, and so they can't think of a single person. So you narrow it down based on things that you learned about their personality, things that they like, hobbies, things that they might do as a family, of the two closest friends that your children have. Which of their parents might be interested in this type of a product or service soon? Of the people that you work with, of the people that you enjoy going out with. Try to narrow it down and only ask for two. You say, okay, and I just would like if you could send me a couple of people. And so you get the name, and then you get the next name. After you've gotten the names, then you get the contact details. Now, in one of my future videos, I'll talk to you more about how to do marketing to people on a referral basis. And I have to tell you, with the kind of business that I've done for the last 20 years, I'm not somebody that, again, is outgoing enough to enjoy doing sales calls or going out knocking on doors or doing other things that typically you might fear in sales. And this is probably why I have been successful in sales over the years, is that I have found kind of things that can keep me busy, but busy in a good sense, that they are going to get good results. Now, in America, where there's a lot more proper training for people in sales and marketing, you'll find that there's quite a few professional people that have these old-fashioned skills, and they still use them, and it works well for them, and they're usually among the top producers in whatever field that they're in. When you bring a lot of the skills that I use to a country like Vietnam, where there's not been a lot of proper sales training done over the last 20 or 30 years, it makes me a bit unique. And so when I do send cards, or I send follow-up notes or other things that are handwritten by mail, one, people don't use regular mail here that often, so I don't have a mailman that comes to my house. I never receive any mail here other than the regular monthly bills, and those are usually hand carried in by a runner for that company, so that you can pay them in cash on the spot. So for somebody here to receive a card or a letter, it's kind of a special thing. And 17 years ago, when I started doing this, it had amazing results with the people that I was coming in contact with, because a lot of times I would call on them at their office, and I would see the card that I had sent them sitting on the credenza or on the desk. And it was something that when they would see me again, they would light up, and they want to say thank you, because usually they don't even receive Christmas cards or other types of things like this from their friends for holidays or for birthdays. So what I really want you to focus on is trying to work with me through these videos and try to learn some skill sets that will help you to lift your business up a little faster, and hopefully save your business if you're struggling a little bit after this epidemic that we've had. I'm going to continue to try to do these videos on a regular basis when I'm not busy with my clients, and I want you to comment to me and let me know what information you would like for me to cover. If there are particular questions that you have, or particular ideas that you would have for subjects that you want me to cover, please leave those for me in the comments, or send me a message through any of the sources that I use. I'm pretty active in following up my Facebook page, and so you can send me messages through Facebook Messenger. I have a very new channel on YouTube, and so I hope that you will subscribe to that and leave comments there. Right now my channel is still kind of small because it's only been running for about a week, but you can find me through these sources, and I'm very, very happy to assist if I can. So again, thank you for following me today, and I look forward to you tuning in next week when I come in with the next topic. And like I said, I'm a little bit open on topic right now, so if you have any ideas, let me know.